What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're speaking about Dragon's Dogma 2, which is easily one of the most anticipated games of the year. And I'm here to tell you that it is really fantastic. So, let's start by telling you what this video is going to be. This isn't a full review because I still haven't completed the game. The game is so in-depth, so long, that it's going to take me at least another week to actually put a major dent into it, but I have played enough to tell you what I've thought so far. And what I have thought so far is that it really is an incredible game. Right from the off, with the character creation that is so in depth, allowing you to customize nearly any part of your character that you want. You're going to be seeing now on the screen the character creation that I made, and this took me a good 20 minutes to do. And I like what one of my friends said. They joked with me, it takes 2 hours, and then you've put all these nice tattoos and scars, and then you just cover up with a massive set of armor, so you don't even see all the things that you've done, which is funny and the struggle of an RPG world, unless you're willing to just go without the armor, which I wouldn't recommend in this world because everything here can kill you really easily, especially right at the beginning. I have fought so many different types of creatures throughout this game. Right now, right in the beginning stages of the game, I've already fought Cyclopses that are triple my size. Think it was a little bit of a Medusa thing that was fought right at the beginning, the introduction to the combat system. I can't tell you exactly what it was. There have been goblins everywhere. They're probably the most common enemy and the most easy enemy to get through. But I digress. Your character creation is what I was actually trying to speak about. The character creation is perfect. I think that anything that you want to create, you will create. I've seen people create Geralt. I've seen people create Kratos. I've seen so many wonderful creations online, and all you need to do is go search for Dragon's Dogma character creations, and you're going to see an abundance of amazing, amazing creations. But moving on from the character creation, I have to speak about this open world. It is easily one of the most beautiful open worlds I have ever seen. And that's saying a lot. I have spent a lot of time in open world games like Horizon, The Witcher 3, all different types of open worlds. And this one, I have found myself quite often just stopping and looking at the landscape more often than I usually do. I do that quite a lot in open world games, don't get me wrong, it is one of my favorite things to do, but Dragon's Dogma is so beautiful. It's one of those games that you kind of just wish you could walk through and just look at without any distractions, and wow, it's something else. It is one of those things that you have to experience, especially how the lighting works and how far the draw distance is. I mean, how far you can see into the mountain ranges and into the canyons, and oh, it's beautiful. You really do need to try that out. With the open world being so expansive, and you could often feel sometimes lonely in open world games like this, but this is where Dragon's Dogma is a little bit different to most open world games. They have, well, their claim to fame is the pawn system. Pawns are characters that you also, well, you create one of them and then you can hire another two from other people that have created them, or Capcom creates them for you, and they form like your own little personal army. Now they are amazing because you can command them to do pretty much anything with only 4 buttons. When they give you a prompt, you click. So say for instance they ask you if they can lead you somewhere, and you say go with your up arrow, they will then lead you to wherever they were prompting you to go, which is quite cool. I never thought of something like this in the system. Obviously, this isn't anything new to anyone that played the original Dragon's Dogma, but to me, this is quite interesting. You can get them to heal you, you can get them to fight for you, you can tell them to stay back while you go fight. There's just so much you can do with these little 4 commands that often just seems like, wow, this is incredibly well created characters and character AI, which is not something that you say very often. So the pawn system is their main claim to fame, and it really does work quite well. I have had my pawns down me a couple times, and that's just because they were not as strong and I haven't equipped them well enough going further into the game. But other than that, the pawns are incredible. I love them. I love looking at other people's creations, and you can hire them. I had from the beginning of the game, I had one called Legolas. So from the Lord of the Rings, that was quite interesting to me. He was obviously an archer, and that was amazing. Then his level got a little bit too low, and he had to go back into the Rift. Now the Rift is where you get your pawns from. But yeah, I think the pawns are a great system. I think it adds something different to traditional open world RPGs that is needed because we need a fresh take on things like that. It's something that you sometimes feel very isolated in these open worlds. I mean, one thing that Dragon's Dogma 2 does really well is populate this world, in addition to having your pawns. There are so many NPCs, especially in bustling cities and stuff like that. When we first made it into Vermont, one of the first things I noticed was how densely populated the town was, which is something very new to me. I think the most densely populated place I've been to in a game would probably be in The Witcher 3, and this definitely comes close, if not going a lot further than what The Witcher 3 does. And I think it's Novigrad, if I'm not mistaken. Novigrad or Oxenford. But I digress. Dragon's Dogma 2 has so many NPCs and it's amazing. I love it so much. It does affect the frame rate though. So Dragon's Dogma 2 has an open frame rate, which means that the frame rate adjusts and doesn't try to target any specific amount of frames per second, where if you have an area where it's so densely populated, sometimes the frames drop quite drastically. It doesn't crash the game, it doesn't make the game unplayable, it just drops below our normal, say, 60 FPS. I'm usually hitting around 30 to 40 FPS, which is completely playable. Most games that have a ray tracing mode and I think it's VRR, they play at 48 frames per second or somewhere around there, where this plays at around 40 to 50. So that's traditional, but when you hit those really densely populated games, it goes to about 30 frames per second. Not something that everyone's going to notice, just something that I noticed because I've been playing so many games at 120 FPS. But this does not break the game. It doesn't do anything like that. It is still perfectly playable, so please do not be concerned about the frame rate killing your experience entirely. It's just something that I noticed. Now, the one thing I have left out, and it's not something that I'm going to go quite in depth with, is the story. The story is enticing. I'm addicted to the story. I want to progress it as fast as I can, but I also don't want to neglect any of the side missions. Right at the beginning of the game, you get a prompt that says, well, look, some side missions have a time limit and they can expire. So I've been very cautious to look out for these sort of things because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to let anything slip me by. So I have been looking at all the side missions as much as I can, but I have been focusing on the main missions and trying to unravel the story that has been happening around me while... Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything. Let me rather not. But what I can tell you is the story is gripping and is so great. I love looking or progressing the story and finding out more about the world, which is something that I think everyone will enjoy. It's not a story that is too open-ended. It's not a story that makes you fill in all the blanks. It steadily feeds you more new information, allowing you to progress with the story at a very good rate for an open world game. I mean, some open world games can take you forever just to progress a tiny bit. This game does it at a nice pace, which is special and lucky because not all games do this. I mean, some games are way too fast, especially open world games are way too fast, and then you get to the end of the story and you feel like you haven't even explored half the world. And then there's other games that just take way too long, taking like 100 hours, and you've done the same area like 100 times, which can get even more frustrating. Thus far, I haven't had that problem. I feel like it's been perfectly paced, which is great. I can't wait to progress it even further and tell you my full thoughts in a full review, which will probably be coming in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But what I can tell you for now is my rating so far is that it's an 8 out of 10 game. It's a very good open world game with a great story, beautiful scenery, and an incredible, I don't want to say new mechanic, but a mechanic that hasn't been used in a while because Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen or Dragon's Dogma 1 came out, I think, almost 12 years ago now, which is crazy to think about because this is really fantastic. Anyways, I hope you will enjoy your day, and if you do think that this is the type of game for you and you are in South Africa, please check out the link in the description below for the full game on kudu.co.za on PlayStation 5. Now, the game is also available on Xbox Series S and X and PC, so all your platforms are covered, so make sure you check out Dragon's Dogma 2.